Good morning. Welcome inside our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen to us on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams. We are presented by Century Insurance, right by you, and also by our great partners, North Carolina-based companies, all of them. Pinehurst Resort, the leading resort in the world when it comes to golf. It is the cradle of American golf. Peter Millar, it is the leader when it comes to men's apparel in golf and beyond. And of course, Golf Pride. Everybody has their hands on a Golf Pride grip. All right, TGL had a night. We're going to start with that, but also Martin Kaymer is going to join us. Guy who won a U.S. Open, a PGA, a Players, made the putt to win a Ryder Cup, got to world #1. A very thoughtful guy. I'm looking forward to a conversation with him. Also, Kira Dixon is going to join us as well. She has gone from covering the Farmers Insurance Open. She is going to be playing actually in the Pro-Am, the first event on the LPGA. A former Miss America. She's gone from being covered to now covering people. A very interesting transition. Looking forward to having her on the program as well. But we start with TGL. They had a night. You know, let's just go back to the first night, because everyone's like, why wouldn't you have Tiger lead? Why would you, as I said? You could put 6 mummified golfers out there. You had to wait an extra year anyway. The curiosity was going to get them a good rating. It did. Then you follow with Tiger. He gives them the bump. Whoever played in week 3 was going to dip naturally. And then in week 4, right off the conference championship games, you get Rory and Tiger. And they had themselves their first competitive match, which it helps. It helps, even though you may not feel there's a lot of gravity to the result. The fact is you did. And here's the thing, man. You live long enough, even Tiger will get called for a shot clock violation, which he did last night, which added another little wrinkle. So in terms of what this is, we're a month in. Kind of like we're a month in, and you're going, what is this? I think everything deserves time, and Tiger and Rory can't play each other every single week. But here's a couple things about last night. Kevin Kisner is an ingredient. There is a comic relief to him. He has now entered into a space where he is a lead analyst at the network level for NBC. He has the ability and the gift of gab to be able to carry and drive a conversation and with some levity. Tiger is the man. Rory has got gravitas. And then you add the nobility of someone like Adam Scott. You add the cachet of Keegan Bradley as the current Ryder Cup captain and a guy who's got real Boston chops, because nobody else who plays for Boston Common has any real affinity to the city. You can say Rory, he's got an Irish background. Okay, I'll give you that. And Hideki Matsuyama. Boston Common, by the way, is the only team. I can't believe I'm emptying the bucket on TGL stats. They're the only team that's got every member that's won a major championship. But here's the other thing. I didn't think 2 years ago that Tom Kim was going to become one of the leading irritants in golf, but he is. And so you add him and all that in a stew on a Monday night, and you got yourselves a good night. Tom Kim reminds me of the kid back in my day. Yep, I'm becoming that guy. Back in my day, he would set a record on Frogger at your local arcade, and he would run out into the street and be doing this. Or maybe it was Centipede or Pac-Man or Space Invaders. I never played any of those. I never understood it. I never got it. I never got the whole arcade kind of culture, but it was a big deal. And Tom Kim looks like a teenager, and at times, he should act like a teenager, and you know what he did last night? That's getting old, but again, an irritant makes you lean forward. Not necessarily always in a positive way. So for them, it was, I think, going to be their highest rating. And here is the other thing that drips with irony. As I said, I think it was last week, when you were holding up a college basketball audience that wants to see Duke basketball, and you're going to wait for simulator golf to conclude. 2 hours is too long. I don't know, maybe they abridge this a little bit. Next year it's 90 minutes. I don't know. Again, give everything a little bit of time. But last night, the time spent, if you spent it, I thought was the most entertaining evening that they've had, and they got a little overtime, and they resolved it, and they got out the door. And they got out the door with, I'm guaranteeing you, on a Monday night, simulator golf is going to garner an audience of over 1 million people. And that Duke-NC State game that followed on ESPN, straight down the cliff, probably 500,000 maybe. So that's a win. It just is. All right, we're going to take a quick break. As I mentioned, Martin Kaymer. Martin was the #1 player in the world. He has done things in golf that very few have. Multiple majors, players, #1, wraps in a putt at Medina to secure a Ryder Cup for the European side. And now he is obviously a member of a LIV team. His evolution, his vision, his path in the game of golf, I think is very interesting. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Coming up next, it's 6 minutes past the hour. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. We're back right after this. It is 9 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, and we are brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. Joining me now, a man who ascended to world #1. He has won a U.S. Open, a PGA Championship, a Players Championship. And as I mentioned when we started the program, he made that putt at Medina, which was the moment to decide it on the European side. And I'm speaking of Martin Kaymer. He joins us now from Spain as you get ready to embark on another season on LIV. It's good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. Life is good down here. We moved down here. I use it as a training camp in the winter time. You know, I used to be in America. Now we're in Spain. A little bit easier traveling for me now, and yeah, we love it here.
You say we. You know, it's fun to cover something like I have, the sport of golf, and to see people advance in their careers and in life. You know, it was just you, and now married with child. What is the biggest challenge to evolve as a person, but also have these other people in your life that you want to dedicate as much time as you can to them? What's the biggest challenge for you?
Biggest challenge, you know, you need to set the priorities. Obviously, I would like to do great in my job, and I need my time in order to practice and do the right things in order to be prepared for golf tournaments. But at the same time, you know, there's that emotional feeling. You want to be with your wife, you want to be with your child, you want to experience those hours during the day and the development of that little person. So, but the setup that we have here is pretty good. You know, I take him to school, then I have 5-6 hours of practice. Either my wife or me will pick him up from school, and then we hang out in the afternoon. So it works really well so far.
You know, Martin, you have seen a generation of golfers come into this sport. And we focus a lot on analytics. Speed has become something that is paramount to performance and success. What does this generation that you've seen come in and establish themselves have that maybe the prior generation 10, 12, 15 years ago like yourself maybe didn't possess?
Yeah, I mean, these days, funny enough, a few days ago, I talked to a couple of guys on the range about how golf courses or the golf course setup has changed over the last 10 years, I would almost say. Not only 5 years, I would almost go back 10 years, that you need to have certain distances with your driver in order to compete. You know, the way I grew up is you try to hit as many fairways and as many greens as possible and just wait until you have a great putting day, and that makes you hopefully get into one of the last groups on Sunday. These days, golf has been played a little bit differently. If you go back into the colleges, also the guy that we might talk about a little bit later, you know, Frederick Kjetrup, who joined my team for this year, you know, they have different ball speeds, they have a different way of fitness training, all those things. And I find it extremely inspiring because I know what I have done and how I learned the game of golf. But now is also the time to learn something different and to go with the times and try to squeeze out, you know, a couple more yards here and there in order to compete in the big events.
You know, you mentioned your team. You know, this show, I want people to believe that we're covering the game of golf globally. We had Harold Varner in studio yesterday. We had Bryson on the show a couple of weeks ago. You're wearing the logo, a rebranded logo for your team, the Cleeks. So you're trying to understand, how to market and advance team golf. What have you learned about what the consumer wants in terms of consuming golf, whether it be in person or on television? And now you've got Live Golf with a new TV deal. What does the consumer want based on what you're hearing?
I do believe entertainment is number one. Quickness, that you don't need to spend 6, 7, 8 hours on the golf course. So I think the combination out of Live Golf, also TGL, they are trying to get into the more modern, entertaining way of playing golf. So all tours, I think they're benefiting each other right now. And I do, when people say, when are the tours getting together? I don't think if they should get together, because the way it sounds and works out right now, I think the fans have pretty much what they want. But I do agree with that the best players in the world should come together more often. So the youth and the more modern way of playing golf is also being approached over the last 2-3 years. So I think where the game of golf is going, I see it more positive. But obviously a few things needs to be worked out. But once everything is worked out, I think we pretty much cover everything for young people, for more traditional people. And I do enjoy where I play. I watch a little bit of the TGL. I think it's a good product as well. So I think we cover all bases at the moment.
Martin, it's interesting. You said, I don't know necessarily that they need to come together, but you also added that the best players in terms of an entry point for Live players or PGA Tour players to have space on either tour. When you joined Live, did you have a thought as to where things would be 3, 4, 5 years out? What was your feeling about what ultimately the landscape would look like?
I think no one could really have that kind of idea, or let's say we had an idea, but we didn't know for sure. And when I met beginning of 2022, when I met with the people from Live and with Greg Norman, they had a clear vision, and I believed in that vision, and I still do believe in that vision, and I think it's a great product, and I'm happy to be part of a startup and the way it has accomplished itself over the last 3 years. But I do think that it should be a way for, it doesn't matter on what tour you play, there should be a way to enter major championships and maybe even add a couple events during the year that everybody, let's say the best or the top 50 players, top 20 players sometimes only, would play the tournament against each other, because this is what the fans want to see, I guess. The best players in the world. This is inspiring, and this is pure entertainment, because then there's going to be some rivalries, PGA Tour against Live and the European Tour in there. So this is, I guess, what people want to see. How you're going to do it, this is a different point.
Martin, it's interesting. I think that there is an opportunity for Live players and PGA Tour players, and you got to figure out exactly when you're going to do it, to pit them in a good way against each other. I think there's an appetite for that. I think that people, and again, if you want to say, well, it's a knockoff of the Ryder Cup, look, there are knockoffs of a lot of stuff, and that's the finest form of flattery. Do you think that there is an appetite, like I do, for an event like that?
Absolutely, because this is drama. This is what people want to see. I don't think you should get rid of the Ryder Cup, because this is a beautiful event. It has so much history, and people love that event. Not only us players, but also the fans and the audience. But there's definitely a possibility and an opening for a little bit more drama and personal, personal drama, because we got. Some of the PGA Tour players, some of the Live players, there was some controversy over the last 3-4 years, and this is what people want to see. But in the end of the day, we should all take it with a bit of humor, because we really do, in the end of the day, we just play a game.
I'm going to use the word disappointing. You tell me if it's not an accurate word. I think you've expressed in the past some disappointment about the way you and some others were portrayed when you made the choice. Do you feel like that, like those things are healing, whether it be things you heard from other players? Do you feel like there is a space now for all of you to kind of go, okay, let's get past the hurt feelings and move forward collectively?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I was a little bit surprised about certain reactions. But then on the other hand, it's quite normal that you would like to protect what you achieved over the last 50, 60 years. It's quite normal. But you also need to respect for people for their decisions. And once you have done the decisions, as players, we also need to live with the consequences. So you can't have it all. And I believe when you make a decision, you stick to it and you take care of your own stuff. You don't talk bad about other people. You shouldn't judge other people. And you should not have an opinion on something that you have never experienced. When a lot of people, they told me their opinion about Live, but they've never really been to an event to experience it. So this I have difficulties taking serious then. But in general, I do believe everything is smoothing out. Everybody wants to come back to the game of golf and wants to play the big events and wants to do a ride for the game. And I do believe that we're going to get closer. But people shouldn't take things too personal. And then sooner or later it will be worked out.
Let me ask you about you, because all the things that you've done, everybody has ebbs. And I was listening to Tom Brady last week talk about confidence. And he said that some people possess confidence without needing the achievement first. Was that you?
You mean back in the day?
Yeah, yes, at any point, whether it was when you were 16 or 18 or 20, his point was, as you can see with some people, it needs to be self-fulfilling, that they need to experience those moments to have that true belief. Did you have that belief before you had that first big moment like you did at Whistling Straits?
It's interesting. I didn't know that I can do it, but through all the practice and all the hard work and just enjoying what I've been doing, success will come automatically, in my opinion. If you have a passion for it and you have a big heart for the game that you play, and obviously you do need a little bit of luck here and there as well, but I do believe success is not avoidable if you do the right things. And I've done a lot of things right in my career, but also you need to understand that if you come out fresh, you don't have any scar tissues, right? So you don't know bad experiences, you don't know bad breaks yet. They come over time when you do play a sport, and that is sometimes a bit tricky to recover from those scar tissues. When you come out new, when I won the PGA Championship, I didn't have any scar tissues. I never really lost in the playoff. I haven't played a Ryder Cup yet, where I could have failed miserably. Those bad experiences I never had. So it was all new, it was all exciting. And now, playing the game for over 15, 18 years as a professional, you do have your scar tissues. But this is the beauty of the game, to come back from that, learn from that, and become an even more solid and confident player, because you do know what you're capable of doing.
Martin, it's interesting, that term, which people who cover the sport like myself, we toss it around. And it's not really associated with many other sports, including individual sports. I want to ask you about, not only you, but you played 9 holes, I think it was Wednesday of the U.S. Open with Rory. On the eve of that U.S. Open, which you won at Pinehurst in 2014 in a walk. He has that now. How does scar tissue manifest itself in the middle of the arena?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. When I played with Rory on Wednesday evening, we played the front nine. We had a great time. We talked a little bit about 2014 and about a bunch of other stuff. And obviously, we both had our scar tissues from certain experiences where we should have won a tournament and we haven't. But you cannot be only focused on that because this is part of a sport. You cannot be successful every single year, every tournament that you play. So the way he played golf, those 9 holes, I truly did believe that he will be there on Sunday afternoon, and he was. So scar tissues are part of our job. As an athlete, you can't avoid them. It's just the matter of how you recover from them. And this is quite personal and quite intimate. Everybody treats that differently.
I mentioned ebbs and flows. You know, you've had the ebbs, and then you got back into a flow state. What is that like to break back through that vortex? Like after you won the PGA, there was a lull. And then there was like, gosh, I don't even know if I deserve to be at Medina. And then all of a sudden, of course you're there. And then of course it comes down to you being there on that last green. What does it take to break back through the vortex to experience a flow state again?
I think the easiness of the game, you know, you need to take it easy. You can't force certain things. And in our sport, we want to have the immediate success. We think we do the right thing, and we sometimes expect that it works out immediately the next week. And the patience is such a painful thing, but it is needed. You know, you need to go through certain times, and it's a beautiful time where you know you're getting closer and closer. And this feeling I had in 2014 when I played in Quail Hollow, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before the Players Championship, I was getting closer and closer, and I knew I will have a chance fairly soon again. I didn't know that it will happen in those 2 big events, the Players and the US Open, but obviously this is a bonus to be successful in those events. But this is what it's about, you know, coming back from some negativity, finding your own way back to the ultimate success again, and this is extremely satisfying.
The year ahead for you. How do you set goals now at 40 that you might have not set at 30?
Well, now it's a different stage of my life. You know, I had success as a single individual on the golf course without a family. Now I have a lovely family, and I have a great team in the Cleeks, and I would like to be successful as a team out on Live Golf. You know, we have a lovely team spirit. We have nice people on the team. We have a very successful GM on our team. You know, he used to be the CEO for Minecraft, so he knows the whole business behind it. He's a keen golfer as well. So, and his name is Jonas. So Jonas, he helps us and helps me to develop as a person as well, and not only understand golf, but also understand more about life, people, business, and stuff like this. And this is, I believe, the biggest difference to when you're 25, 30 to an age now where I'm 40. You do get interested in other stuff.
You know, Martin, my late father was a team builder, and he told me many times that there's no greater reward in life than collective achievement. You didn't grow up thinking that you would do something together as a team. Are you experiencing that as, like you said, building a team and trying to achieve collectively? Are you seeing and feeling those rewards?
Yeah, we had a great success last year in Houston where we won as a team. And there you could see it is not like a Ryder Cup, you know, even though some people say, you know, it's as good as a Ryder Cup feeling, it's not. You know, Ryder Cup is very special. When you win one of those team events out on Live Golf, it is satisfying because, as your great grandfather said, you know, it's a collective success. And this is beautiful that everybody tried to do the right thing for that one thing. And this, when it turns out in a successful way, this is a great achievement. And I also was the happiest and most satisfying golfer when we won the Ryder Cup in 2012. But I do see a very bright future for us out on Live as a team together, because we are trying to develop a team culture, you know, like all the other teams in the NFL, in the NBA, or other sports in the world. You know, we try to develop a team culture that fans can associate themselves with. And that's why we also changed the logo, for example. We did a rebranding that fits more to our personality. So, and this is really fun, and I really enjoy that, to build something from the get-go and make something what you stand for.
Let me get you out of here with these 5 quick questions. You've spent a lot of time in the United States. Your favorite restaurant in the U.S., what is it?
I would say Mastro's.
Very good choice. All right, the U.S. accent, a part of this country that I reside in, that the accent itself you either find humorous or very hard to interpret.
No, I really enjoy it. Certain ways of pronouncing words is very different to how I learned it in school. When I ordered water in a restaurant, they didn't understand me. If you do more water, then they get you. So I always found it quite funny.
What was the product that you used to put on your arms? You look like you were going to sunbathe at Saint-Tropez. What is that product?
It was just a normal Nivea sunscreen, that I used for many, many years. I don't know why it was so shiny, but a lot of people asked me about it, yeah.
Nobody glistened quite like you did when they applied that sunscreen. All right, what was your celebrity crush as a teenager?
Crush, does it mean that
like you were an infatuation? A girl who was a celebrity when you were 15, 16 that you were infatuated with?
I wouldn't. I was more into sports, and I was following a lot of male sport. So my biggest idol was Michael Schumacher, the Formula One driver. So I would have been really intimidated by him if I would have met him.
All right, the last thing, the live team that has the most extravagant likes or things that they enjoy collectively. I think I know the answer to this. Which team enjoys the finest things in life more than any other?
Oof, now you put me on the spot here. You know the answer. I would have said actually the Stingers. They would have been my guess because they really enjoy their lives and they know what they want and they love where they come from. And as a South African, they really appreciate the luxury of being a golf professional. So I would go with them. What would be your guess?
I would say the Majestics. Look, if you have a guy who has a fleet of Ferraris, it's hard to beat that team, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. But there's only one out of 4, though.
Yeah, I think Lee likes the finer things. He's into horse racing. I'll go with them. I'm going to leave you with this. You won't remember this. When we started Morning Drive back in the beginning of 2011 on Golf Channel, Martin, you went into your pre-tournament presser when you were ascending to world #1 at the match play out in Arizona, and somebody asked you something about coming to the United States, and you said, "I like to watch Morning Drive," and all of us on this new fledgling little morning TV show fell out of our chairs like, did he just say what we think he said? Thank you for that all these years later.
And then I got an invite to come to Orlando to see you guys. It was fun.
Listen, it's good to see you. Thank you for the conversation. I hope to see you this year. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, there is Martin Kaymer, former world #1. We take a break. We continue with you. It is 31 past the hour. We're back right after this. It is 34 minutes past the hour. We're back here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, and this segment is brought to you by Pinehurst. I have a lifetime of great memories at Pinehurst. You can too, and they are adding cottages on course at Pinehurst #8, Pinehurst #10, which was opened in the last year, voted the best new public golf course in America. There is always a good reason and a good time to be at the Pinehurst Resort. It's always a good time to be at Pebble, and this week, a Signature Series event. And you think about kind of the state of what the AT&T was 5-6 years ago. The fields were lagging. You had great history on its side, but the present was not great. And now the present is very, very good, and they've made alterations to what the format is. It's only a 2-course rotation now. The Yams don't play on the weekend. It's Pebble for 2 rounds, and that's times. The times change. The fact that you're getting the best players, one who's not going to be there because of the injury he's dealing with. Gabby Herzig updated the injury that Xander Schauffele's dealing with, but Scotty Scheffler making his debut. Rory McIlroy is going to be there. Here's the other thing about Pebble that's wonderful. It's not 7,600 yards, that it is not driver dependent. There is not a bias towards somebody who just hits it as far as he can and just play the hole as short as they can. There is something very particular about that experience, which makes the field more open. And even though there was a signature associated with the Century at the beginning of the year, this is a bigger field. It's not 120 or 140, but it's 80. And they're playing on the Monterey Peninsula in the dead of winter in most places in the country. That warms the heart because it's special. We'll talk more about it certainly tomorrow, and obviously the tournament will begin on Thursday. Speaking of a tournament beginning, the LPGA begins a new season. It's an interesting time for them because they have a lot of momentum but a lot of change. Somebody who is there this week, but she's playing golf as well as Kira Dixon of Golf Channel and NBC Sports. She will join me next from Orlando. It is Tuesday. It is 5 Clubs, not only on Golf Channel, but also on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. We're back with Kira right after this. It is 40 minutes past the hour. Nice to have you with us on this Tuesday on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. And this segment brought to you by Peter Millar, where performance meets luxury. No matter what it is that you are going to or need to dress for, Peter Millar always has the answer for you. Joining me now, kind enough, off a travel day, going from West Coast to East Coast. She's going to play a little golf today and tomorrow, but she's a working lady, and that is Kira Dixon, Golf Channel, NBC Sports. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's get to state of your game. You were just bemoaning the fact that you haven't played any golf. Now, for people who don't know, she doesn't like golf. She loves golf. You get out there at Lake Merced where you're a member. You work at it.
Yeah.
You haven't played much golf?
No, as you know, in our business of covering the game, you get to talk a lot about it and watch it. But playing yourself, it kind of falls to the wayside. So I feel like I'm telling myself I just have learned so much by osmosis and all the observation I've been doing over the last year. So we're going to see what comes out of the game this week. But I'm just happy to be here, to have a good time. That's the main priority.
No, I know you will. You mentioned covering. I'm curious. I've never talked to you about this. You were a public figure before you started covering public figures. What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about the process of trying to get information and thoughts, particularly from athletes, about the process after being in a place where people asked you questions about your process?
Yeah, I certainly know what it's like to be able to perform in a pressure situation and have something happen in a live action type of moment where there are millions of eyeballs on you. So in that respect, I can certainly empathize with players and being able to achieve something at the highest level with all of that scrutiny. And I think that gives me a certain level of, understanding them and understanding the tone and the cadence of questions and the types of questions that bring out a good answer and have a good conversation. Because I've done many interviews, I've been interviewed, we're in this business, so we have our 10,000 hours and do it constantly. So I think if anything, I of course have that experience, but I've learned so much over the last 10 years of covering golf that's prepared me for this, more so than probably that ever could. But it gives me a great, just bedrock of empathy and understanding for their situation.
I think that one of the key things for any of us, and for you being out there, and now a responsibility of interviewing people in the middle of the cauldron. They're not, this isn't pre-round, post-round. You're doing mid-round stuff. Trust.
Yeah.
How is trust gained?
Yeah, I think trust is gained with time and they see you over and over again on delivering reports, and sometimes people tell you things and it's up to you to parse out how that information gets presented. And, just understanding people on a deeper level than just, golfer, reporter. You're really creating real relationships out there, and that's what leads to trust, and that's what leads to great interviews. So now, as you mentioned, I'm getting to do these in-round interviews in our early coverage on Thursdays and Fridays with Golf Channel, which has been so much fun. And one of my favorites last week was with Joel Damon, and it was a crazy wind day at Torrey, the day that we had the hour and a half wind delay, and just listening to him describe what it was like to play, and then also his personal journey. That's been a really fun thing to get to add to the list of things we get to do out here.
No, look, I'm a nerd about the mechanics of television. I always have been for whatever reason.
Yeah.
How about adapting to that, where you're this true walk and talk? What has that been like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I've done so many different versions of this.
Yes.
So it's fairly easy to step into, but there is something to be said about doing a live walk and talk in our broadcast with a player, especially when it's maybe not their comfort zone. So you're really having to set the scene and set the tone for that comfort level, and just to remind them that, like, hey, this is just another conversation. This isn't going to be anything that's going to take away from your round or distract you. We're just talking about the golf. We're just talking about you. I'm not going to be peppering you with questions about like the politics of golf or any existential threats or anything like that. We're just talking golf. And so I think that as the players see it more and more, they get more comfortable with it. And like, for example, last week when I interviewed Matthew Pavon, who was the defending champion at Torrey, and I said, oh, thank you so much for joining us. And he was like, oh, I'm used to this. I do this all the time on the DP World Tour. This isn't anything new for me. He was great. So the more they get to do it, the easier it is, and the more additive it is for the broadcast.
Your range, you covered the Olympics, and now you're adding college basketball. Have you learned something about this sport that you cover and love in golf by doing other things?
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with Damon Hack, our colleague, about this a while ago. We were saying that the golf media training translates so well to all of these other sports. I covered my first Olympics over the summer, and I just felt so comfortable doing it. I mean, of course, it's the Olympics, so it was crazy, and there was that level of nerves. But in terms of my skills, I felt so confident in being able to interview someone from Taekwondo or trampoline or equestrian or water polo, sports that I'm not an expert in. But because of the golf media training, the golf reporting training that I have, it was such a transferable skill. And, as you mentioned, I just got to do college basketball. I'm going to be doing some more college basketball. I'm doing curling in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic.
So we're just adding sports to the list.
I love it. Last thing, the LPGA. What is your sense of look, they have very good momentum. They have this, leading star in Nelly Korda. When you step over from the PGA Tour to the LPGA Tour, give me a sense of the environment there right now.
Yeah, so I'm here this week playing in the Hilton Grand Vacations LPGA Tournament of Champions, and I'm not a champion, obviously. I'm in the LPGA Pro-Am section. I know. I just want to make sure to clarify that. I know people were confused, but they have this Celebrity Pro-Am portion, and this event is so incredible, and just it puts the women's game on such a great stage. When you're in it, and like I was just in the locker room, I was talking to Linnea Strom and Cheyenne Knight, and I'm really impressed with how incredible these women are and the star power that they have. So it would be wonderful if we continue to have that momentum grow and grow and grow, so that we could see the women's game on the stage that it deserves to be on. I think that there's still a long way to go in that regard. I don't think that anyone would say that it's exactly at the place that it needs to be. But in terms of a momentum thing, I think that, it's the beginning of a new season. Everyone's got a big smile. Everyone's excited, and it's an amazing product. So I think that the more that the players invest in their own product and themselves, and the more that the LPGA can continue to elevate itself in these high-profile events, then we'll get there. But in the meantime, I'm excited for this week, and please no one look at my score.
You've got a 9:10 tee time today, a little practice round. Your biggest challenge today is Alfonso Ribeiro, not because he's better than you, because he's just an irritant. Enjoy the morning. I've had some fun times with him. He's my biggest
cheerleader.
Thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to doing this hopefully throughout the year. You're very kind. Have a great time.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, thanks for having me, and congrats on the show. I love it.
Thank you. That is Kira Dixon. She is playing in the celebrity portion of the Pro-Am there. It's 48 past the hour. We continue with you. I'm going to talk about a debut this week. 3 of them that are very, very significant. We're back right here on 5 Clubs right after this. "52 minutes past the hour. We're back here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen to us on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. In this grip right here, the Align Max. Harris English used these grips. First guide to use them to win. They'll be available to you within 2 weeks. I've had them on my clubs for a couple months. The best grip. I'm not kidding. It feels like you've got laces on a football. And it's conforming, and they are approved by the USGA and the governing bodies, the Align Max grip. There's nothing quite like it. Scotty Scheffler, there's been nothing quite like him over the last couple of years. Consider this. Now, he's going to play this week. 2022, 25 starts, 4 wins, 4 seconds, 11 top 10s. 2023, 23 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 17 top 10s. Then last year, insane. 19 starts, 7 wins. You can add the gold medal, 2 seconds, 16 top 10s. This is extraordinary stuff. And I asked this question yesterday of Sean Zach about, can just greatness captivate an audience? And he wasn't sure. I think it can. I do not think that you need ancillary things if you experience as a consumer somebody or something, like a team. And I'm not saying that everybody is rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs, but you also can't turn away. You can't turn away from separation. Because the optimization in sports at all levels is so keen and so heightened now, it's very hard to separate from your contemporaries. And he's done it. And I'm not saying it continues for 10 years, but I think it will continue in the moment. And I think that he doesn't need to be somebody making quips on social media or doing provocative interviews in and around the game of golf. If he's great, dominance holds an audience, and he starts his year this week at Pebble Beach. We continue. We come back here, give you a thought on what we're looking forward to tomorrow right here on 5 Clubs. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday. We continue with you right after this. Back in studio here, a couple minutes left. Following us, Fairways of Life with Matt Adams. You will certainly enjoy that show coming up next at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow on the program, Lauren Coughlin's going to join me. And if you consider what she did last year, she's one of the best stories in golf. This is somebody who was, like so many, great at the amateur level, from the state of Virginia, goes to the University of Virginia, has a wonderful college career, turns professional in 2016, and is meandering like so many do. And she gets her LPGA Tour card and has not experienced a lot of success. And then last year, she breaks through in a monstrous way. You think about the Chevron, and Nelly Korda won the golf tournament, but Lauren Coughlin was there right to the end. Then she won in Canada. Then she won again at the Scottish Open, and she's on a Solheim Cup team. Can you imagine having that type of ascendancy after the age of 30 in the game? Certainly I can't. So many can't. We're going to talk to her about the reflections on a year that has just gone by and now embarking on a new year as somebody with a heightened level of relevancy. Also, Taylor Zarzour will be joining me in studio. He was calling the golf last night on the PGA Tour Radio Network for TGL. I was actually driving to a little birthday dinner for my wife. My wife's like, you're listening? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm listening to TGL. So TZ will be with us in studio. We'll talk a lot about Pebble Beach because there's a lot to talk about, including Jordan Spieth. Because Jordan Spieth is somebody who, as he comes back this year off the surgery, if he becomes a significant figure again, it's a monstrous win for the PGA Tour. Plus, Club 5, we open up the club tomorrow. Our picks as well for the AT&T at Pebble Beach. We're looking forward to a Wednesday. And Dogs of the Week. Lots of dogs are rolling in to 5 Clubs. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.